There are many writing coaches who will tell you to only work on one project at a time, and I am not one of them. But I completely understand that for many ADHD writers, the idea of having a second project on the go can actually be a little bit stressful, because instead of only failing on one project, now you'll be failing on two. And starting a new project might mean that you'll forget about your first one altogether, or at least that is the concerns that I hear all the time. But I have the solution. I'm Susanna, I'm your ADHD writing coach, and in this video, let's talk about how to make progress on multiple projects at the same time and answer the question whether you actually should. So I think that if you work on multiple projects at the same time, you can do something that I call productive procrastination. So you know how sometimes you feel you have to write, but you start to do something else instead? Well, that is procrastination. But if you have multiple projects going on at the same time, you can do something that is productive procrastination. Instead of working on the project that you feel you should be working on, you'll be working on your other writing project instead. And therefore, you will still make progress with your writing. Now, our ADHD brains love novelty and love variation. And that means that if you work on only one project, you might get bored. You might just not want to do it anymore because we do not like doing the same thing over and over day after day. But if you have multiple projects, then you actually bring variety into your writing sessions. And to do that even better, you can work on multiple projects that are in different stages of completion. For example, you can have one project that you are editing. You already have all of the pieces there. You just have to make it sound better. And for some of us, that can be very, very boring because there are no longer any big problems to figure out. Now, if you have a second project going on that is in the ideation stage, where you are thinking about what it is that you want to be writing, then you can take your motivation, your excitement about these new ideas and actually use that to make progress on your editing project as well. And that is how working on multiple projects in different stages of completion can help you motivate yourself to do writing and have the motivation for one project bleed over into the next. But I know that you've tried this before, and I know that you are worried that if you take on a second project, that second project is going to take over your focus and you'll forget about the first project altogether, because that's how it has been before, right? But it doesn't have to be that way, because what you can do is you can start blocking out time for each of your two projects. For example, you can say, I try to write 5 days a week, and one of those 5 days I am setting aside to work on whatever project I want, whether that is a completely new project or a new idea that I had, or something that has been stuck in my drawer for a very long time. The other 4 days, however, I am going to work on my focus project. Now, if you can distinguish between one priority project and one or more sub-project, then you can still make progress on this main project even when you're also working on other texts. You just have to set new rules for yourself. For example, like I said, you can have 4 days for your priority project, 1 day for whatever project you want to work on. Or you can say, I have my highest priority project and I will work on that 3 days, but I will work on my secondary project for the other 2. So it doesn't really matter how you organize your schedule, as long as you set time blocks aside for each of your projects. Because that way you can make sure that you do not forget altogether about this main project that you've been working on, even when you are much more excited to work on your secondary project. One other strategy that can help, in addition to this time blocking, setting time aside for different projects, is that you can set goals for each of your project. You can say, this week for this particular project, I want to get this done. That means that if you have finished all your tasks on one specific project, then all the remaining writing time will be dedicated to pursuing the goals for your other projects. And that is how, even if you don't manage your time well, with the use of tasks and goals, you can still make sure to find a balance and make time for all the projects at once. Now, there might actually be times when working on multiple projects might not be a good idea. For example, you might have a deadline coming up for one of your projects, in which case it might not be a good idea to spend so much of your writing time on other projects as well. So what you want to do then is to just drop the other projects. There's no need to keep the other projects going. When you are in a state where you are not dealing with the deadline anymore and you need a little bit of motivation because you're getting bored with this project, that is when you can reintroduce the other projects. It might also be the case that you are so obsessed with your priority project right now that you don't want to even think about all the others. That is your intuition telling you that you need to monotask. And again, if that is the case, just go with your intuition and just work on your priority project. The only problem is when your intuition wants to work on a project that is not your priority project. That is when you shut your intuition down and stick to the plan. So even though a lot of writing coaches will tell you to only work on one project at the same time, I completely disagree. I think there can be great benefits to working on multiple projects when you're an ADHD writer. All you need to do is put some rules and strategies in place to make sure that you don't lose sight of what your big priority is. Now, if this was helpful to you, then you should really check out these other videos I created to help you become the most effective ADHD writer that you can be. Talk to you soon.